even shaved her daughter's head to make it look like she was to appear as a cancer patient.
Murders, mysteries, unexplained stories, and our family's crazy opinions on them all. Join us now. The Family School of Thought is in session.
Okay, everybody. How is everybody today? Good.
Doing great. Doing great.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody out there in YouTube land. And thanks again for joining us for this week's Family School of Thought. And please remember to like us, share, and write us at our email at thefamilyschoolofthought@gmail.com. Okay. All right, let's start it off with Cass. What's the weather like in Portland?
It was very rainy today. Gloomy, rainy, but
Did I not hear that you were climbing some mountains?
not today. Yesterday I was climbing.
Oh,
I wasn't climbing mountains. I was climbing at a gym, so it's all indoors.
A rock wall.
Yes.
A rock wall. Okay. Good.
But it was raining yesterday, so that's, and it's nice to be inside and doing something while it's raining.
There you go. Okay. All right. Jesse, can you start us off with some fun facts?
Yes. So I got 3 kind of neat ones, I guess. They're more positive. They're enlightening. Mental floss, amazing facts calendar. If you watch any episode of Mr. Rogers, I think we all know, maybe everybody knows who Mr. Rogers is, or the show Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you some sweater envy because he's always wearing a cool little sweater in the show. Yeah. So, did you know that you'll never be able to find that sweater in the store? You'll never find it because it is homemade by his mother.
Really?
So,
that's cool.
Yep.
I think I did know that because on one of his shows he said that his mother made his sweaters.
Yep, all of the sweaters that he wore on his show were knitted by his mother, Nancy.
That's awesome.
So there you go. So a little fun fact right there. Also, according to a study published in the journal Organizational Behavior and Human Decision Processes, sarcasm can promote creative thinking. So you're a creative thinker if you're sarcastic.
I believe that.
So Odin and Matt are very creative thinkers because they are sarcastic all the time. Odin has become Odin is a little bit of a sasshole now, so whatever. But
don't talk about my grandbaby like that. He's a good boy.
He is. He's sassy. I said sasshole. He's sassy, and he knows it, and he knows he's cute because he knows if he just smiles at you and gives you the little twinkle in his eyes, he's gonna get away with whatever. Where do you think he got that from?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Okay.
Got it from his daddy. The last little fact that I have is just some general knowledge for people. But did you know peacocks are all male?
Yes.
They are only male. If it's a female, it's called a peahen. So there you go. Peacock, peahen.
I did know that.
Well, I just knew that the peacock men are beautiful and the women are brown.
Right.
Well, that's like any other bird.
Yeah, that's almost any bird.
Yeah, because even the red bird, the cardinal, the males are beautiful and the females are like a light brown. It's like,
because in every other species in the world, other than humans, the men have to impress the women, not the other way around.
They have to do stuff to make the women want them.
Because they know the women are going to provide.
Yeah.
Right.
Cass, let's get on with the song of the week.
Yeah. So this song of the week is another stalker song. There seems to be quite a bit of these. But it's one and it is Blondie's One Way or Another.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I forgot this was about a stalker.
It's a stalker. It's a female stalker, but it is a stalker, One way or another, I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna get you,
I'm gonna get you
one way.
Get you.
And it even has
Maybe
lyrics.
next week.
If all what is it? And if all the lights in your house are down, I'll follow your bus downtown. I'll get you one way or another. So
Yeah.
it definitely promotes.
I will ride past your house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. It's a good
And
song.
The lights are all out.
Great song.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it. Everybody loves it.
So I found out this song was about stalkers like back when I was in middle school or high school because it became popular again around the millennium because of Coyote Ugly. Whenever that movie came out.
That's where I heard it. I was trying to figure out where I had heard it.
That's where like I like mostly remember it from. It's from Coyote Ugly, which I think came out. I don't remember. I could be wrong. I can't look it up right now. I think it came out in '98. Is that correct?
It's about right.
Somebody look
When
it
did
up.
it come out?
Yeah, I was gonna say 2000, maybe 2001.
I mean, she recorded that song in the late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. It kind
But
of
it had a resurgence
because
of
the,
yeah.
She recorded it. Was the stalker looking for her, or was she looking for?
She's looking for.
She's the stalker. Blondie's the stalker.
She's this. Yeah.
Oh, and who? Okay, maybe I'm way out, but I like the song. But who is she stalking? I know you guys don't know.
Guy.
No,
Just a guy. Yeah.
Oh.
Just a song about stalking a guy.
really. Yeah, and she's gonna find her. Or find him. Maybe next week.
He's gonna get him.
You know,
It's good. It is a
girls
good song.
do that back in the
Yeah, I
70s.
like that
In the
song.
70s, girls would stalk the guy.
There's a very
Like you
similar
did to me.
song about
Your mother
rollerblades
stalked
and
me.
keys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone got a new
Brand new
roller
skate.
skates.
Yeah, you two girls used to sing that all the time.
It's a stalking song.
It is. It's a stalking.
It's another song about a girl stalking a boy.
Well,
But
okay. All right. Well, good. All right. That's a good song. I love Blondie. I loved her back in the day when she was very edgy when that first came out. It was really, she came
One of the only females in rock.
yeah.
mhm.
She played at
CBGBs.
CBGB's. Yeah. Yeah. With Patti Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Patti Smith is better, but I like Blondie. Okay.
Blondie's got a better, I shouldn't say voice, but it's not raspy. Like Patti Smith's got a
Blondie actually sings, where Patty's basically just
yeah.
talking
Patty is
in
a
rhythm.
poet. Patty is a
Yes.
poet.
Yes, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I mean, there two versions of singing, and
They are. Well, Blondie is more, or
Patty
Patty is
talks.
really a performer.
Yes.
Mhm.
Patty Hearst is really a an artist, and she's expressing herself.
Right.
not-
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She's expressing herself, not performing somebody else's thing.
Yeah.
So they're totally different.
Yes.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Dee, I think you're up this week. Got something exciting for us?
Yep, I do. What do you
Okay.
got? Yes.
Get going.
Okay. It is about Claudia Petra,
Petra.
and otherwise known as Dee Dee Blanchard.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody
I didn't know her name was Claudia.
Mhm.
Huh?
I didn't either.
Her name is. She was born Claudia Petrie, and then she went by Dee Dee, and then she married Rob Blanchard.
Okay.
She was born in May 3rd, 1963 in Louisiana. And she was one of 5 children. As she was growing up, her relatives recalled her as a retaliatory child. And
What's that mean?
that
She retaliated.
Retaliated against authority. Okay, got it.
Yes, and she did crazy things even way back then. I mean, she was manipulative even as a child, apparently. And it is believed after all of this, and now that they found out about her more, that she may have starved her own mother, because right out of high school, she became a nurse's aide. And when she was 24, she started dating Rod Blanchard, who was only 14.
Holy cow.
I mean, not 14. I'm sorry.
I knew he was like younger than her, but that's really young.
No, who was only 17 at the time. She was 24. He was
Well,
17.
that's not much. That's not much
It's
better.
not much better, but yeah.
But
At
it
the
can be
time,
done,
I'm sure,
can it?
yeah.
It can be done, can it, Dee?
Oh, yeah, you rated
You know,
Okay, get out
someday
the
people are gonna
story.
watch this and actually believe Mom was way older than she was when
Yep,
you keep
out
making
of the
comments
story.
like this.
Yeah. Okay. So she ended up getting pregnant, and then so because he thought that the thing to do was to marry the woman, and so he married her. And shortly after that, they had a little girl, and they named her in July of 1991. They named her Gypsy Rose, and shortly after Gypsy was born, he decided that things weren't going to work out because she was very controlling, manipulative. She did, I guess, crazy things in their marriage. Shortly after Gypsy was born, they got the divorce, and then Rod tried to be a part of Gypsy's life for the first year, but it was clear that Dee Dee wasn't going to let him be a part of her life. She said bad things about her father, Gypsy's father, pretty much from the get-go, and she deterred him, made him, just said that she couldn't see him. In her family, whoops, I'm sorry, I jumped to things. He continued to pay child support, which was $1,200 a month child support. And then Dee Dee moved back in with her family. So she moved back to live with her father so that she could support and take care of Gypsy, but she still received alimony or child support for Gypsy. Right. And then things weren't going very, very good with living with her father, because she started doing crazy things. And her father was very, very suspicious because his wife all of a sudden got very, very sick. And so her father was very suspicious that Dee Dee was poisoning her stepmother with weed killer. They never got a conclusive answer to that or what, but the thing, they thought that she was poisoning her stepmother. And then Dee Dee, why she was living with her father and stuff, apparently she wrote bad checks and stole money, and was doing other petty crimes and different kinds of crazy acts while she was living with her father. And when they questioned Dee Dee about Gypsy's health, and her behaviors, she took her daughter, because then they kept asking, why all of a sudden is the stepmother sick, and why, from day one, even when Gypsy was born, a month after, they claimed, or Dee Dee claimed that she had sleep apnea. So they took her to the doctors, and I think that's why part of why Rod divorced, because all of this stuff, writing bad checks, saying that the baby had sleep apnea, that she needed to go to the doctors, doing all this stuff. Well, after she moved back in with her father, the whole family started questioning Dee Dee. Why? What's going on? Why do you think that she's got sleep apnea? She was a perfectly healthy baby. And so she took her daughter, she took Gypsy and left. Shockingly, after she moved away, her stepmother made a full recovery. So, why didn't somebody question it anymore? Why did anybody not say anything about Gypsy when all the stuff was going on later? There's just so many red flags from the very beginning. And then after hurricane, because they lived down in Louisiana, and Hurricane Trina come through, and so she up and moved to Missouri. I don't exactly know why she went to Missouri, other than a doctor had suggested that she could get help for Gypsy in Missouri because of what Dee Dee was claiming. And then from an early age, she, like I said, she claimed Gypsy having sleep apnea, and then test proved otherwise, that, of course, she didn't have sleep apnea. And then that's why her family was asking her. And then after she got the test results back that the baby didn't have sleep apnea, that she had chromosomal I've got a brain fart.
I think you did a good chromosomal.
Right. A chromosomal disorder. And so then the doctor recommended her to go to Missouri because they could probably do more testing than where she was. So what she did, she made made the trip to Missouri, and it's back in my papers, but at 7, I'm jumping, but when Gypsy was 7, somehow it didn't explain this, but it said she was on a motorcycle and she scraped her knee. And so when she scraped her knee, of course, Dee Dee blew it all out of proportion and made this wreck seem like, she went to the hospital, but she only had minor scratches and scrapes on her. But Dee Dee turned it into multiple operations for these scratches. Mm-hmm. So Gypsy had to undergo all these operations on her knees because of these little minor scrapes from this motorcycle. And after that, I don't know if it's true or not, but in all of the paper or stuff that I was reading, it says that she was unable to walk at this stage in her life. So at 7, she was put in a wheelchair and she was never to walk again. And then Dee Dee stated that her daughter had seizures every month, which prompted doctors to put her on medication. there's another. Why didn't these doctors check this out beforehand? Why was she able to get all these doctors to give her medicine, especially when she really didn't need it? I mean, there's MRIs, there's testing that you can see if a child has had a seizure. Why would you give a kid a medicine if she really
this
did?
was early 2000s, so I don't think they had like as well technology, and or like not every hospital had an MRI machine.
Yeah, maybe.
And she used Katrina as like basically they couldn't find her files kind of thing. Like so many hospitals were flooded and so many people's files were lost.
Yeah.
Dee Dee used that as like she would
And
go to
she
these
did-
hospitals and say like, oh, well, I don't know where her files were, but the last doctor we went to, Dr. So-and-so, said that she had this disease. This person
Yes.
had this things. And she would also steal doctor's pads from the offices
Yes.
and then write prescriptions and write diagnoses on them.
Right. And then she would also have prescriptions for herself for like anxiety or depression. And she would give those to Gypsy to make her like slow down, like basically
Lethargic.
catatonic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And-
They made, she was very lethargic pretty much her whole life. I mean, and the
And
poor
I think
kid-
that's what happened with her legs is that Gypsy can walk
Yeah.
and she does walk now.
yes,
And basically
yes.
what it happened is that the side effects of the combination of medication she was getting basically made her legs numb. And so she couldn't walk on them.
right. Some of the medicine that she was giving her, but really she could walk all along because her aunts told her father, Rod, that she could really walk. And so then everybody started questioning it. But even at a young age, Gypsy was told not to do things. And
And
then
she was
after-
able to walk, and she was monitored so closely that she didn't. You know, she just didn't.
right. And then
Right.
then after all of this, and once she got put into a wheelchair at 7, Dee Dee said that she had muscular dystrophy. However, of course, all the test finding, when they did all the testing, she really didn't have muscular dystrophy. Shortly after that diagnosis with the muscular dystrophy, her daughter come down with both vision and hearing problems. And when she moved from one part of town in Missouri to another, and she moved to Aurora, Missouri, and the town rolled out the red carpet for this family because she was, in a wheelchair. She was on breathing tubes. She was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy, hearing and sight, and she was on a feeding tube. And so they felt sorry for this poor little girl. And so they devoted their whole lives, the whole community. It would be like a small community like Ovid that just opened up their hearts, and their whatever Dee Dee needed, they were there. They were, doing whatever this kid needed. And she got free housing because she had muscular dystrophy. So they built her a home equipped for a wheelchair. And,
I feel like it might have been through like a program, like Make-A-Wish.
Yes, it was Habitat to Humanity.
Yeah.
Habitat to Humanity built them a home. And like I said, they gave her everything. They gave her private, when she had they opened up their hearts. They appeared, of course, when she arrived, she appeared severely disabled, and Habitat to Humanity built them a house. And then individuals that lived in the town gave them private jet planes to go to whatever doctor she needed to go to. And then they gave her lavish trips to Disney World. And so, and rock concerts. The more the town gave, the sicker Gypsy became by her mother. She was even seen, Dee Dee even shaved her daughter's head to make it look like she was to appear as a cancer patient so that she could get more. And Dee Dee claimed that her daughter had leukemia at this point. When she was 20 years old, when Gypsy was 20, she was still feeding through her tubes, and Gypsy knew she was. At this point, Gypsy realized that she really wasn't sick, that her mother was doing all this stuff to her to get all of this stuff free. And her mother was very sick. She could walk fine, and she knew she could walk at this time, but she never knew that she was as old as she was because her mother had numerous birth certificates saying how old she was. Well, her father called her when she was 18 years old to wish her 18th birthday, and she didn't know that she was 18. She thought she was 14. So she wanted to grow her hair back, and then she wanted to have friends and have people love her. But all of her friends and all the people that she knew loved that bald girl with a huge personality. So, consequently, her mother used physical abuse to control and to make sure that she continued with her pretense. If Gypsy got out of control, Dee Dee would beat her with wire coat hangers. And if she did something that she wasn't supposed to do, her mother would pinch her, grab her, and leave physical bruising on her arms. So Gypsy learned at an early age that you go along with it and do whatever Dee Dee wants, or she would be punished later after she got done with the interviews or whoever they were talking to. Dee Dee also painted her daughter, Gypsy, with a mental capacity that couldn't walk and had cancer, and used the feeding tubes waiting to die so that Dee Dee could bankroll on the community. So she was bankrolling on all of the community sympathy, and no one reported any of the suspicious behavior until Dr. Bernardo Flastatine found it odd that they were claiming that she had muscular dystrophy, but all the tests failed to find anything wrong with the Gypsy, that her muscles should have been more deteriorated, that, she shouldn't have been able to do some of the stuff that she was doing. So the doctor questioned it, and wanted to know why any of this was keeping her from walking, because she had all of the muscles that a walking person should have. So he got very suspicious, and he dug into Gypsy's medical history and found that all of the original tests in New Orleans, so everything that Dee Dee was claiming, were also negative. So every doctor that she had went to, everything come back negative, but Dee Dee was still drugging her daughter and doing all the pretense to make everybody think that, like I said, she had a mental capacity of a 7-year-old instead of, the 20-year-old kid that she was. Dee Dee was found guilty of self-made diagnosis. And he felt that this was a case of Munchausen syndrome.
Munchausen syndrome.
Huh?
Munchausen by proxy.
Munchausen.
I know everybody says it, but it's pronounced Munchausen
Oh.
in the dictionary. But I was saying Munchausen or
Munchausen.
yeah,
Munchausen.
Munchausen. I was saying that, but in the dictionary it shows Munchausen.
What
I don't know.
dictionary are you looking at?
I was looking it up on the computer because I thought, well, Dad said you better know how to pronounce this. So I said, okay, I'm going to look it up. And I looked it up on it, and it says Moonschen, or Munchausen. I don't know. So I was going to, I of course I can't watch, I had it on one, was watching one of the documentaries. I still haven't seen the show because you have to pay for it. We have to pay for it.
Mm.
And we watched
It is
another,
good.
but
We have seen it.
I know we watched it. I don't know, but so Munchausen syndrome by proxy, and he wanted to turn Dee Dee in, but all of his colleagues encouraged him to just leave it alone and not say anything more because nobody would believe him. So he said, okay, I guess. And so he left it alone, but he was never to see her again. So he never seen Gypsy after that. But he knew she was, he knew that what she was doing and never turned her in. So in 2009, a call came into the local police that Dee Dee was using multiple names and that Gypsy wasn't really sick. And when they checked it out, and went through. So I don't know if the doctor turned all of this back in and anonymously, but the police went out to Dee Dee's house and checked it all out. And Dee Dee told the police that she was trying to keep her crazy ex-husband from finding her. So the case was closed because they believed, okay, yeah, her ex-husband was trying to try to find Gypsy and her, and so she didn't want to be found. So she used false birth certificates and all the false names, different names, because she was using different names to get all the medicines and stuff, and different birth dates, and for to every doctor that she went to. So Gypsy never knew that what her real age was. When, like I said, when she was 18, she thought she was 14. And Dee Dee had many fraudulent birth certificates to receive benefits. And the original, supposedly, Dee Dee said, was destroyed in Hurricane Katrina. Katrina. And then in 2011, Gypsy started searching online for dating services. And her mother, she got old enough that, she wanted to make friends and get into meet new people. And I think that when they lived in Aurora, she met new people, and all of the neighbors would come and visit and do things. And so she got on a dating service to find love, and she met a friend, and Dee Dee found out that Gypsy had arranged for this to go meet this guy that lived in Arkansas, because she had told him about her mom and abuse and all this stuff that was going on. And so Dee Dee found her and told her that she'd better get back, because she would call the cops and tell them that she was underage. And in the state of fury, her mother got her back and then smashed all of her computers and her phones, and threatened that if she did anything like that ever again, that she would break her fingers. So she had met a friend, Aaliyah Woodmansee, in the town, and she became really best friends with this girl and explained to her that, you know, what was going on. And she was never truthful, or wouldn't tell her personal things, or, you know, she considered her to be her best friend, and they treated each other like they were sisters. And she confided a lot of stuff in Aaliyah, and you know, they talked, but Aaliyah thought it was strange that she never opened up to, I guess, more personable stuff. But in 2012, Faith stepped in, and Gypsy got on the computer again, and somehow fell in love with this guy named Nicholas Godejohn. And he was from Wisconsin and didn't have the best track record. And so he suffered from mental illness and had a criminal background, which Gypsy didn't know. She was told at this time by an ex-girlfriend that he was crazy, but she just thought that it was an ex-girlfriend, you know, taking out revenge on, you know, saying bad things about her ex-boyfriend. So Gypsy was telling Aaliyah all about this guy, and that she'd fallen in love, and, you know, that they were going to meet and have kids, and, you know, get married and do all this stuff. And then in so then Dee Dee found out that she was talking to another boy, and so she smashed yet another computer and phone. And but you know, Gypsy found other ways, and I'm assuming that Aaliyah probably helped her get work computers, or when she got together with Gypsy, that she helped her talk to Nick, because she found other ways to, they said, talk to her love. But then when so during all these talks, they had arranged to meet. And so when Nick and Gypsy finally met in person, they had made arrangements to meet at a movie theater, and they rushed right into the bathroom and had sex. However, Gypsy decided, after she met him in person, that she considered him a bit odd, and she really didn't like him that well after she had met him in person. But they had, during their conversations, she had told Nick everything. I mean, literally everything about her mom, and how They faked all of the stuff, and so they plotted and planned on how to kill her mother. And Nick had multiple personalities. So he said that one of his personalities wanted to kill somebody. So he was all gung-ho on doing this. And so in 2015, Nick returned to Springfield to carry out the scheme to kill Dee Dee. And that he arrived. He was supposed to arrive. I mean, they had this all planned out, that he was to arrive at a specific time. And after Dee Dee went to sleep and Gypsy, they were out of the house. And when Dee Dee went to sleep, she gave him, Gypsy supplied all the things that that Nick would need to carry out their scheme and their plot to murder her mother. However, Gypsy, I guess, got scared, nervous that she wouldn't be able to follow through with this and go through with the plan that she had planned. So she got scared and went and hid in the bathroom. And then she covered her ears trying to drown out her mother's screams while her mother was screaming for Dee Dee to come and help her. She refused to go tell him to stop, or, let's not do this. They continued. Nick continued to stab her several times in the back, leaving her lifeless. And then he had claimed that he wanted to rape Dee Dee in the process of killing her, or when he killed her. But Gypsy didn't like that he was going to do that to his mother. So she told him that he could kill her mother, but he could rape her. So they had sex, and why her mother, he raped Gypsy, why her mother was laying in the pool of blood in the bedroom dying. And so after they had celebratory sex afterwards, you want to call it, they took celebratory sex. After that, they took $4,000 cash, took a bus, went to a motel to figure out what they were going to do next, feeling confident that they had gotten away with murder. While they were at the hotel, they got envelopes and they mailed the knife back to Nick's hometown in Wisconsin and asked his mother if they could come and live with him. And so, of course, his mother said, yes, you can come live with us. And so they took a bus to go live with Nick's parents or mother. And when the police arrived, they had security cameras showing that Gypsy had a blonde wig and was walking fine without a wheelchair in all of these things at the hotel. So in the meantime, all these neighbors that were very involved with Dee Dee and making sure that she had everything that she needed realized that Dee Dee's car hadn't been moved in several days or in several hours or whatever. So the neighbors called 911. And when Dee Dee's car, when the police arrived, they found Gypsy's wheelchair and all of her, everything that she needed. And she was supposed to have a mental capacity of a 7-year-old, and she wasn't supposed to be able to walk. And so the police thought that that was very suspicious, and checked into it, and they found, of course, when the police arrived, apparently Aaliyah told the police everything that she knew about what Gigi, that she had met this Nick and
Gypsy.
huh?
Gypsy.
What did I
keep
say?
saying Gigi.
Gypsy.
I know,
Gigi.
because I
Gypsy.
wrote I wrote G in my notes, so I'm sorry, Gypsy. Because I didn't want to write Gypsy out, so I wrote G. And when I see the G, I say G. I'm sorry, but Gypsy. So Aaliyah told the police everything that she knew about Gypsy and Nick, and so they, of course, checked into it, and they found out that she was going to whatever. I'm sure that Gypsy must have told Aaliyah that what hotel that they were at or going to, and so the police went there and found Nick and Gypsy and took them both into custody in Wisconsin. So they went to the motel. They seen the they checked out the security and seen that she had a blonde wig on, and that she was at the bus station. And I'm sure that the bus station said that, yeah, they took a bus to Wisconsin. They found him in Wisconsin and they took him into custody. And because of the unusual circumstances, because all of the stuff that Gypsy was supposed to been under, cancer, and the prosecution didn't request the death penalty. So Gypsy was found guilty of second-degree murder and was charged with a plea deal of 10 years in prison. Nick's was a little harsher, and he was charged with first-degree and armed criminal action charges, and he received a 25-year prison sentence. But it seems like when I watched whatever documentary, I thought he got life in prison.
I was thinking he did too.
It seemed like,
Well, technically, I believe a life sentence is 25 years.
Yeah, I think you're-
okay,
Because that's why you can get multiple life sentences. Because whenever a life sentence was originally, created, it was only 25 years.
right. But our crimes are getting younger and younger, so maybe that's why.
Younger and
But-
younger, and we're living longer.
Yeah, right. And so,
Right.
since her arrest in 2015, she has had many interviews about the abuse that she suffered. And there are movies which are on Netflix and HBO and Hulu. The act is on Hulu. And then
Well, Mommy, Dead, and Dearest.
yeah, Daddy and Mommy Dearest is on HBO. But,
Mommy, Dead, and Dearest.
I know that's what it says, but in the book, on the paper that it says that it's called Daddy and Mommy.
Oh, I'm sure there's another one, but the documentary on HBO is called Mommy, Dead, and Dearest.
Okay, because that's what I thought it was, but then I went back and I couldn't remember where I'd seen it, because it had, if you get on the computer, it has numerous things on all, I could have went for 3 months looking and up all of this stuff because I'm slow on the computer, but I couldn't find where I'd seen that. But I do remember seeing it because like I said, I had watched a documentary and they were talking about the Munchausen syndrome by proxy, and it had
Munchausen.
It is Munchausen.
Munchausen.
It's Munchausen. Okay,
It is
Munchausen. Munchausen. But it had that Dearest, Mommy Dearest, whatever. But then when I was looking up on this other site, it said daddy and mommy, dearest. So I don't know. But what you can go on and see all of these movies. You can either pay for them, or we don't have all of those extras, so I had to pay for them, and your dad wouldn't let me pay for them. So I wanted to watch them. You can edit that out. But
Okay.
stop laughing at
You
me.
wouldn't let her do the research.
No.
No, that's the reason she can't pronounce anything right. Is you won't
Okay.
do the research.
Okay, let's get this story straight.
Right. I love them up every time, but this was a good story.
It's a very well-known
We've already
one.
seen this movie before.
Mhm.
Second, I wasn't gonna pay $13.99 and you fall asleep.
True.
And
True.
I watch a movie I've already seen.
Right.
Oh.
But I probably would have fallen asleep.
And
because
there's
I have
enough
to watch it in the
theories, and there's enough stuff on the internet about the story that we should be
Mhm.
able to figure it out without watching the movie.
Yes, and I did. I mean, I found a lot of stuff, but like I said, I wanted to know how to say all the
Munchausen.
Munchausen
Munchausen.
syndrome by proxy. But
Like say it like you're
Good.
munching on a house.
that's what I
Munchausen.
thought it was. And I told your dad that, and he goes, "You better know how to spell. You better know how to say
No.
that." So I thought, okay, maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong.
You were definitely. I said you need to.
You were pronouncing it Munchausen.
Munchausen.
Well, that's because I looked it up, because your dad said you better know how to say that disease. And okay, I'll look it up. So I did, and now I'm saying it wrong. All right, so but in all of the interviews, after she's seen all of the interviews, I mean, after she started doing all the interviews, she was on quite a few talk shows and stuff, and she was on God, I can't even think of his name.
There you go.
Dr.
Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil.
She was on Dr. Phil, and a man had watched one of the HBO series, and his they call him, he goes by Ken, but he had watched the HBO series special and wrote to Gypsy in May of 2019, and they somehow they became engaged, and it's been an on and off relationship since then. However, they had a wedding scheduled in 2020. I don't know if that ever happened, because like I said, I didn't go through to find out if she really did get married or if they planned the wedding in 2020. And she's supposed to be released in she's
Mine was already released.
she's supposed to be going out for parole in 2024, but they said that she could be paroled as early as December of 2023, which is next year. And she will be 32 years of age when she is released. So
She got a 10-year sentence.
right, she got a 10-year sentence in prison. So she was 24 when she committed this crime, or yeah, she was 24, and then she'll be 32 when she is released, almost 33, they say.
Yeah.
Gypsy suffered terrible and twisted realities of her mother, who created lies throughout her whole life, and was one of the, I guess, worst cases of
Munchausen syndrome by proxy.
right. And so the sad thing is Gypsy ended up paying the price for it her whole life. And they, the good thing about it is people are saying that she's still young enough that she has a shot of a normal life, but the question is, after living that kind of deception her whole life, will she be able to live a normal life? That's my question. I don't know. I mean,
Well, she
It's-
definitely is going to be affected by this the rest of her life.
Yeah.
I think so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Young, start a new life, but she also I seen her on an interview, and she said being in jail is better than being with her mother. You know,
Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
Exactly. And I know that that's what she's been, that was what was said, that that if she would have lived with her mother, it would have just continued, and her life would have been miserable. So at least being in prison, she found out what her mother really did to her, and
Right.
realized what a horrible thing that she had done. And to this day, apparently, Aaliyah is still considered one of her best friends, and they talk to each other. And Aaliyah attends every hearing that Gypsy had to go to, and they still remain best friends to this day. So she talks to her, and I'm sure that after Gypsy is paroled and let out, hopefully they'll be able to have, I think that Gypsy considers her as her real, probably some of her only family, and she's now seeing her father that she thought that didn't want anything to do with her, and found out after all of this come to a head, if you want to call it that, that her father really did love her, and she thought that he hated her and that he was a bad person, and that they were running from him because he, hiding from him, and that wasn't the case at all. So hopefully once she's released from prison, she can get with family, and they can support her, and she'll get the support and the, psychological help that she'll need once she gets out.
Right.
And hopefully that when she was in prison, she received some of that and realized that the life that she lived wasn't.
Well, I mean, even if she did, and I think, our prison system is working on reintegration system or programs, but like, it's going to be a completely different, life for her. She's never lived on her own. She's
Right.
never, had to take care of herself. She's always had, even in prison, she has rules and, things she has to follow.
Right.
So it's going to be, unfortunately for her, she's never going to leave the limelight. She's always going to have everybody looking at what she's doing. She's never going
Yes.
to have a normal life.
Right. Because they're going to look
so
and find,
everything she does is going to be
Yeah.
news.
yeah, and she's lived that life of schemes, and, even if she marries, even if she
today,
marries somebody,
I've seen a interview with her recently, and it's like talking to a 10-year-old. I mean,
Mhm.
she's not
Right.
doesn't have the mental.
she doesn't have the mental capacity that a
Right.
32-year-old woman.
But I
No.
don't think that's like a mental, it's not actually like a mental disability. I think it's just,
I think
that's just how she had to
education.
act. Yeah.
Yeah.
She didn't, I think they said that Dee Dee pulled her out of school in like second grade. So
They
like,
did.
there is going to
right.
be some like educational deficiencies there.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
And that was what I was
And she
just
had to
Right.
pretend, that she was younger or she would get abused by Dee Dee. So I think it's just, I can see a clear difference, but when she does interviews now, but I mean, there is going to always be that personality trait.
So
Oh, Cassie,
Right.
I got a question for you. So you've seen that recent interview of her?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've seen like interviews, I don't know how recently, maybe like 2020, I don't know. Right when like, this was a big, not big news, but like when the act came out and, all this stuff was getting brought up again, I think I saw interviews.
And I was also looking at he does like computer stuff, like the podcast, like what we do, and he was saying that when they made the movie The Act, they portrayed that Leah had a mother, and that she asked in this movie, because see, of course I haven't seen The Act, that that Gypsy had asked Leah's mother to be her mother, and and I'm going,
I don't remember that. No.
so they had a bunch of, they added stuff that they
Well,
shouldn't have.
it's a dramatization.
Right.
Everything that is based off a true story is a dramatization of facts. I say facts loosely. Yeah, you never, if you're watching something and it's not like a documentary style where everyone's being interviewed, and it's like actors portraying, what's happening, it's going to be dramatized for public consumption.
Right.
So
And
things
then
are going to be,
also,
fake.
right. And then it also said that in the movie The Act, that Leah, in her part, refused to have anything to do with Gypsy after all of this come about. But in real life, she still remains her best friend, considered sister, and went to all of the hearings. But in this movie, it portrayed her relationship with Gypsy, that she, when she found out the real truth, she didn't want anything to do with her. So, I mean, there's just so much out there.
I think, and again, we're doing this just for
Entertainment
purposes only. But I believe that Aaliyah, she lived across the street from her.
Yeah.
And she bought into all that stuff, but she could see some of these, like she figured out she could walk. You know what I mean?
Right. And
Aaliyah was figuring this stuff out before Gypsy told her. You know what I mean? But she could see this stuff. And then after this happened, Aaliyah was really mad that they were lying to her and she'd been fed. But as time went on, she realizes, okay, Gypsy was lying to her, but here's because of the circumstances of her mother. So
I was also going to say, I don't remember the ending of the movie, or it's a mini series. I don't remember the ending of the mini series saying anything about it. But also, like, imagine, like, even if, like, so you're finding out that somebody you lived across the street with, called your sister, is not as disabled as they're saying. She's not as sick as they're saying. And your entire family has been giving them money, giving them assistance, giving them this and this and this. So you're finding out that this has all been faked. But also, your friend has just murdered her mother. Like, that's going to be kind of shocking. Like, I would definitely have to take a step back and be like, whoa, okay, like, who is this person? Like, it might take me a while to be like, okay, fine, okay.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Understanding,
She was upset at the time when it happened, but it took her, a minute to figure it all out. But I think even before they murdered her mother, I think she tried to, like, get Gypsy away from there a few times,
I think the family was realizing there was like an abuse problem, because again, this is part of the dramatization. I don't remember if this is actual fact, but I believe CPS was called on Gypsy and Dee Dee multiple times.
It was. And Dee Dee tried to manipulate Gypsy and say that Aaliyah was bad news and that she was a bad influence on her. So Aaliyah was trying to help her, but Dee Dee was figuring out that she knew more than what she should. And then somebody called CPS and they came in and checked it out. Of course, Dee Dee lied and everybody believed her. And if
he had Gypsy all drugged up, so yes, got there,
So Gypsy couldn't answer any of the questions because, so it really did. So everything looked like somebody was just turning something in that wasn't really true. But if you look at all the red flags, it was a sad situation, and somebody should have stopped this years and years ago, like when she was 7 years old, when when the
Well, it's
doctor said
it-
that all of the stuff come back negative, why didn't they, why did it take that one doctor once she got out to Missouri and she was what, 10, 11?
Right. Well, I mean, that's the thing about Munchausen by proxy is that nobody
They-
wants to truly believe that a mother would purposefully
Would
make
do
their
this,
own
right,
children
yes.
sick. So it's so
Right.
hard to prove, but to believe, like
Believe.
you would never believe a parent would do this to their own
And
child.
before this story, most people never heard of anything like this.
No.
Yeah, I don't think
This
so.
story really,
It's really rare. It was
this
really
story
rare.
really brought a light to this.
And for that doctor to
Yeah.
diagnose that right away, it's too bad that he really, and he did. I really believe that he was the one that told the police that she was using various names. And I really think that he went against his colleagues, but he knew that he wouldn't be believed. So he didn't want to ruin his reputation. And,
Mhm.
the colleagues didn't want their the investigation to go probably into their doctor's office, and all that stuff needs to be investigated. So they didn't want that and said leave it alone, and he did. But I really think that it got back to the police probably through some means of him saying, this is what's going on. But they didn't look into it far enough.
Well, I also think too, again, this happened in like the early 2000s, but now I think, like when you go to when a kid goes to the doctors, if there's some kind of bruise or whatever that's suspicious,
Right.
now it's more of a second-hand practice of, hey, let's ask a couple more questions to the child to see how they
Yes.
respond. So I think this case kind of really changed how doctors will look at kids that are injured and the child abuse that goes on, because a lot of it is more, I think before, I mean, there's always been child abuse, unfortunately, to people's
Right.
own kids, but it's been more physical, where the kid comes in and with a broken arm or, whatever, and he fell off the bike, he ran into the door, those kind of things. But it's, I think that they start looking at it a little bit deeper now
Right.
than they did before.
Yeah. And even with her abuse that she received, like she said, that, she learned from an early age how to respond, because her mother
Right.
would pinch her hands or pinch her fingers or do
Right.
something to her. And it would,
Right.
and it said, like in all the interviews, it said that they were always holding hands. So Dee Dee would hold her hand. And if she was saying something that she shouldn't have said, Dee Dee would squeeze her and she would say, she knew to clam up. She knew to shut up. She was saying too
Mhm.
much. So back up a little bit. So, and that's with any abuse. I mean, kids know that if they don't say what their moms want them to say, they're going to get beat when they get home.
And they did kind of live kind of like celebrities. I mean, people, they were having telethons for them. They were always collecting money for them. They were on, like, they would do, like go to conferences and, so she knew this is the way they make their
The
money.
ticket, yeah.
Right. So she didn't want to mess that up. Mhm.
Right. So, I mean, she knew. That's what I'm saying. She knew. And then when she was 20, which she didn't know that she was really 20, she knew that all of this was a fake, that, it was,
Well,
she
and
was learning. And I think that when she started hanging with Aaliyah,
Aaliyah is the one that picked up on this and was
and asking her more questions, and then it clicked into Gypsy's head that, oh yeah, my mom gives me medicine and I can't, I don't have any feeling, or I go lethargic because I don't understand what somebody's saying. So I think she realized that. And then when her mom was saying that Aaliyah was a bad influence on her, I think she was putting two and two together that
And she would get up and walk at night when her mother was sleeping.
right.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And I was
Right.
gonna say too, she was on a feeding tube, so a lot of the medication her
Right,
mom
went
was
right
mixing
through it,
in
yeah.
with her food. And so it
Right.
was going right into her system through the feeding tube. So it was, yeah, she
Right.
picked up on that.
Well, and the reason she was on feeding tubes and she really didn't have a choice of like eating a lot was that she would get up and walk around at night when her mom was asleep, and she would eat, like go into the fridge and
Right.
eat food she wasn't
All the stuff
allowed.
that she wasn't
And
supposed to
so
eat.
she got a bunch of
So-
cavities, or like I don't know if she got
Right.
cavities from this, or if
Yeah.
her mom basically like ruined her teeth,
I
And
think
she
her
had to
mom
get a
ruined
bunch
her
of-
teeth by giving her all
her-
that medicine.
and she had to get all of her teeth pulled,
Yeah, and she had
Mhm.
all teeth
so
put
she
in.
couldn't eat. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so she realized that her mother was really doing this to her, and I think she was catching on, talking to other people. Like she was telling that guy from Arkansas, and he said, "Well, that's pretty sick," or I think she
Mhm.
met up with him and went to the hotel, and met up with him. She realized, okay, and I think that it started from there, and then. She met Aaliyah in 2014, and
Well, she ran away from home at one point
right,
first, and that's where her mom
And
tracked her down.
right. That's
And
where she went to this guy in Arkansas. She ran away from
Oh,
home
yeah,
because
yeah.
she
Okay.
had met this guy on the computer, and he lived in Arkansas, and said, "Oh, you can come live with me." So she ran away from home and went with him.
Yeah.
But then Dee
Right.
Dee found her and realized that that's where she went, because she got on the computer and figured out that she was in Arkansas.
And then she told the guy that she's only 14.
Right.
Mm.
Right. And then the guy was freaked out and is like,
Right.
I don't want to, like, she
Right.
told me she was whatever. I can't remember how, but yeah.
But
And
she probably told him her real age, and then Dee Dee came
Right.
forward and said, "No, she's 14."
Right.
Right.
Right. Because she really was 18. And,
Mhm.
Well, she really didn't know how old she was.
no, she didn't. She never knew really how old she was, but, she assumed that she was old enough.
So she has a good relationship with her father now, and his father's
Mhm.
his wife now.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. Right. And so I think that they've been very, very supportive of her. And, she realized, what a horrible life that she lived. And her father feels very, very guilty for allowing that to happen and not pursuing and going after his own daughter. I mean,
Yeah,
he
it had to be,
he's
I
got to
mean-
live with that for the rest of his life now.
and he should. I mean, really, when you think about it, it's like it was a lot easier for him to just walk
Pay
away.
$1,200 a month. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it I don't want to blame him that much, because you have to understand that Dee Dee was a nurse. So he wasn't. I don't even think he graduated high school. I think he was a very uneducated person. And Dee Dee is telling him that she's got all these problems. She has to be taken care of 24/7. She has to, be fed through a feeding tube. And that's probably pretty scary for somebody who had a kid at 17. Like, you have to imagine
and
that
that's
he's,
what he
Right. Right.
when this is going on, he's only like 22, it's
Right.
it's daunting and it's like, well, she's a nurse, she knows what she's doing.
Right.
My daughter's probably better off with her.
Well, I mean,
And he praised
I
her.
don't know that that's the way
He
it went, though,
praised her
because
for taking such good care of his daughter.
Yeah, he
And
he
he
believed
said,
that Dee Dee
I-
was doing the right thing.
He said, I trust you with her. I believe what you're doing. And so he really did think that all the stuff was really wrong with his daughter. And then after Dee Dee
Right.
took her and then disappeared, and he didn't know all of this, but
I mean,
her
family,
sister
before,
told him
before this, her family knew that she was crazy and suspected her of trying to kill her stepmother, and
Right.
were really questioning her about her Gypsy's health, saying that doesn't sound right. I mean, so people in her life were really aware
right.
that
Right.
this
And
could not all be right.
And Dee Dee's sister told Rod that Dee Dee could walk. And so Rod called Dee Dee
Gypsy.
and questioned,
Gypsy could walk.
that
Yeah.
Gypsy could walk, that, and that's when he was questioning her, and Dee Dee, he said, well, I believe you and I trust you.
Well, she said
She manipulated him.
Yes.
You know, she groomed
she
him.
said that
She manipulated him.
Gypsy does have good days when she can walk, but it's very rare.
Right.
And he took
Yeah.
it at
So
that.
she lied.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said.
I'm
she
just saying.
manipulated.
I'm just saying there was definitely suspicious. It was suspicion all through
But again,
the time. But it was
you
weird
don't.
just to
People
walk
don't
away
want to
from it
believe
and
that.
try to figure it out.
Right.
People don't want to believe that somebody could be
Right.
that
Your own mother.
vicious and cruel. Yeah.
A mother could do something so
Right.
horrific to their child, because I would die and give
But
you my life.
especially, I'm
if
sure while they
something
were
happened.
married, Dee Dee
He
told him.
knew.
Well, no,
No.
Dee Dee told him, manipulative things about her family. Like, they always blame me on all these things. I'm sure she manipulated him into not believing her family.
Right. Well,
Right.
I don't know, but he didn't feel comfortable in the relationship, is what in the interviews that was he was saying. He just didn't think that it was going to work out. So apparently she did crazy things. Like I said, she was one criminal for writing bad checks. She wasn't a stable person back when they got married. When
I want to say she was fired from being a nurse. I don't know if that's true or not.
well, she left the nursing program shortly after that. So I'm afraid I'm thinking that she probably did get fired, but it never specified that she got fired. It never said.
Well, maybe they didn't want to admit
Documentation.
she was fired. Like, a lot of times hospitals don't, if they fire somebody, they basically have to claim responsibility. So a lot of the times they will just be like, all right, well, you can leave.
Right.
You're not getting fired,
Right,
but
right,
this is your last day.
Right. And because maybe she was doing things to patients and they found out that she was doing
Mhm.
stuff. So,
That's
because
exactly what
and that's what they're
happened.
saying, that after all of this, they really think that her sisters and stuff went to see her mom, and they said that she was literally starved to death. So Dee Dee was living with her mother, so they think that she starved her own mother to death
Mhm.
and collected the money or whatever. So she knew what she was doing,
Mhm.
and she was supposed to be a caretaker, and she starved her own. She starved her mom. So
Unfortunately, there's a lot of cases of serial killers being in the medical profession.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Right.
It's an easy way to learn what drugs you can use,
Right.
learn what the body needs, what the body doesn't need,
Yes.
and how to make things look like accidents.
Yep.
And a lot of these cases where the mothers don't have any medical training, but they know a lot of terminologies to use. They know a lot
Jargon.
Yes.
jargon.
Right.
And yeah. So it
Yeah, and I feel like
appears that they know what they're doing.
right. I feel like that's why, because the reason this is one of the worst cases is because it lasted for so long. Most
Right.
of these cases are caught while the child is young, or unfortunately when the child dies at a young age. And so this was like the first case where we saw into their adulthood that this was
Right.
still happening.
Yeah. Right. And then the daughter killed the mother. So otherwise, it would still be going on today.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're right. Or like you say, she would have been drugged to the point where Dee Dee would have opened a life policy, and Gypsy would have passed, or she would have done something to make her pass and not found out, because she can say, "Oh, I don't want an autopsy done," because she's the mother.
Mm-hmm.
So it just happened the way that it did for a reason. There's always a reason for something. So I don't know.
Well, and like I said, this case has brought a lot of light to this. So now they can catch other people early.
Yeah.
Well, and there's been
They have
many
something to
since
reference.
this. yeah, since this case became so big and like people really started to understand Munchausen, there has been many cases since that, people are starting to go like, well, wait a minute, you know, why are like all these mothers having very sick kids and dying kids? I think one just happened in like 2014 where a young mother, I think she killed her son, and they were like in the hospital, and the hospital was like trying to get her away from the son.
Right.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad. I don't understand it because, like I said, my life
Well,
was
because you don't have a mental disease.
Yeah. It is a mental disease. This is a sickness. Um, I won't say it can't be helped, but it's, it is a disease. It's a
Right.
sickness.
It is. You're right. It is. It's a disease, and what it kind of stems from is the parents. It's just kind of like an alcoholic. It's
Mm-hmm.
the mom or the caretaker, whoever it is, gets that like high off of other people thinking they're doing such a super job of taking care of this person that has all these ailments, and they feel like that power of,
Mm-hmm.
they get so much encouragement from other people, and they just feel empowered by that, which is
Mm-hmm.
awful. But it's the same as a drug
Mm-hmm.
addicted
Addict.
person, or right, a drug addict or an alcoholic, or anybody that's addicted to anything. And that's what I mean. I think that's what it really kind of comes down to, is this is an addiction to being, like um being addicted to getting praise from people. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe it. You're doing such a great job. Like, you're such a
You're doing the
super
Lord's
person.
work.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like, you're a superhero for, everything that you
Mm-hmm.
do. And,
I think a really
it's like,
good example of this that I've seen in media is I don't know if you guys have ever read the book or seen the miniseries on HBO called Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn.
yes, yes. I
I think
read
it's
the
one of the
book and I
best.
watched the movie.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
such a good book. And like, spoiler alert, the mom has Munchausen's by proxy, and like it's so. And that's the thing is that like she wants praise so much, and she wants her children to be so addicted to her care that she ends up
Right,
hurting them detrimentally.
right. Yeah,
Hmm.
that was a really, really good book.
Mm-hmm.
Always the books are always, for the most part, are always better than the movie or the TV series, whatever. But the TV series was actually, because it was like a short, right? It was
Well, that's what I think we are getting into the generation of not just turning them into books or books into
right,
movies, but like giving them the
right,
time they need to tell the whole story
right.
through a
Yeah,
miniseries, which I think it works out
yeah,
well
right.
for the book.
Yeah, but that one was
And
really good because
uh,
Amy Adams is in there, and she was
Mhm.
like the main character, and
Yeah. And she plays such a different
phenomenal.
character.
what was the name of the
Yeah,
movie
I mean,
again?
It's called
Sharper
Sharp
Objects.
Objects.
Sharp.
Or is it Sharp or Sharper?
I think it's Sharp. Just Sharp. Sharp
I can't remember.
Objects.
Sharp
Sharp
Objects, yeah.
It
But-
seemed like
Oh,
Well,
I know
because I
this.
really like
Yeah.
I like
yeah,
Adams, and
Amy
she
Adams. Yeah, Amy Adams, but this is like a completely different character than what she
Mhm.
normally plays, because she's always that, I don't know, I always think of
Enchanted.
it's a Disney Enchanted, yeah, or the purse girl from The Office, but like she always plays this like pretty
Bubbly.
Disney princess girl, yeah, and this kind of it shows
She played
a
that,
darker side to
Hillbilly.
Mhm.
What's that Hillbilly movie? It was really
Oh,
hard to watch her play it because she played a really bad character. It's
I don't
Hillbilly
know.
something. It's a true story.
Is it the new one? It's a new one, isn't it?
No.
I know what one you're talking about, but that's not Amy. That's not Amy
No,
Adams.
It was Amy Adams. She played the mother, who was an alcoholic, drug addict, was a nurse, but ended up getting fired for her. Hillbilly's in the name somehow or another, and it was really hard to watch her play that character because it was a drunk, bad mother,
Mhm. Well, that's kind of so
But
she's
that's
the
she had
child. Well,
long
she's not a
blonde
child,
hair.
but in sharp
She had long,
sharp objects,
No,
she's
it
an
was
alcoholic and a
really-
drug addict.
was curly. And they were from the South and poor, and
yeah, but
they lived
Mhm.
with their grandmother, and
I guess I don't remember Amy playing in that. I think I come in to watch that with you at a couple of times, but I didn't realize that Amy
Hillbilly
had-
Elegy.
yes, that's it. It's one of those movies I like. The first time I didn't even finish watching it because it was so hard to watch. It was hard to watch
Glenn
her
Close.
play such an ugly person,
Mhm.
and but then I watched it again, watched the whole thing. It's a true story, and out of that, her son becomes a famous attorney,
Mhm.
and this lifestyle he had drove him to succeed. And actually, his grandmother, who was really hard on him through life, who's seen his mother, he wasn't going to stand a chance because of his mother's behavior.
Abuse. Yeah.
Just kind of really drove him and made him. I'm trying to think who played the grandmother.
It's Glenn Close.
Glenn Close, and she got, I think, an Academy Award or some kind of award for that.
Mhm.
maybe I'm not thinking of the same thing, but that's probably the same kind of character as what she played in that Sharp Objects.
Kind of, but she's not the mother, so she's it's kind
she
of
like
one of those.
Artist or
It's-
something like a.
She's a journalist, so she's
Journalist.
a journalist. And there's like a serial killer in their hometown. And so she has to like go back and cover it as a journalist. And so she has to like stay with her family, and everything is it's like a Gillian Flynn book, so it's like everything kind of, it's a what's going on, whodunit kind of mystery thriller. And so you kind of have to get all these little clues to figure out who's the killer, what's going on, why doesn't she talk to her family, why does her and her mom have a really bad strained relationship, why is she an alcoholic, why is she a drug addict. So it's like all these kind of clues of like what happened in her childhood, and it is like especially in the series, the miniseries, it flashes back and forth between when she's a child and when she's an adult, because the killings happened when she was a kid, and then they happen again when she's an adult. Or I don't know. No, I feel like I'm thinking of something. No, I think. Yeah, they happen when she's a kid and when she's an adult.
How about anything else you want to add to your story, Dee?
It was a good story. I mean,
What did you learn out of this story?
I
How to pronounce Munchausen?
No, she did
Munchausen.
not learn how
Yeah.
to do that.
Munchausen syndrome by proxy, but I
Nope,
never
she didn't learn.
I never heard of it before I did this, and I think it was sad. It was a sad story.
It is a sad story. I think that's something too, is that people felt, I mean, Gypsy's in prison right now, but people still feel sorry for her, but in the end, she conspired to the murder of her
Well, that's the
mom.
thing.
But
Right.
It's a very controversial case because there's people who don't feel guilt, or they don't feel sorry for her. They
Right.
believe that she manipulated Nicholas into doing it. Like, they believe she was the mastermind. She,
yeah. Mhm.
wanted to murder her mother, and she got someone who is clinically diagnosed as autistic, and he's got mental disabilities.
Right.
And she figured out she could manipulate him, like her mother had manipulated people all their lives
Right.
into doing
And-
something she wanted. Which
and some of
I
it-
don't think is untrue. I think, I think she was in a desperate situation, but I don't believe it's untrue
Right.
that she, and she said she
Right.
didn't like Nicholas after the first time she met him, and yet
Right.
she continued on with this relationship.
Right. And
But you're right.
that's what I
So she
kinda got
she used
angry.
him.
that
Mhm.
I kind of got angry because I thought, well, my goodness, she did know what she was doing, and
I think she
Yeah.
probably didn't.
and
know what
his
she was
family
doing,
is furious
she
with
knew
her.
Yeah, they should.
And of him, she probably knew how to work him, Nicholas.
Right. And
Right.
then
But
Right.
again, somebody who's
Nicholas
raised that way isn't thinking rational, so it's not like you.
No, I agree. I
Right.
agree.
Right.
Like I said, I believe she was in a desperate situation, and I think she was just trying to figure out anything she could, and she didn't know what else to do.
And I
But I
she
do
didn't-
believe, I
and
do
she
believe
didn't
her,
think
that
the
his
police
family
would
should be
believe her,
angry at her.
probably.
Yeah,
But
I believe that
in
his
her
family should be
defense, I
angry.
really do believe she doesn't have a mature mind. So, it's like a kid.
Right.
thing,
Right.
She has the mind of a child.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't think. I mean, I don't know about that. I think that's a very useful thing to have when you're dealing with this kind of a situation. Is to say,
Right.
well, I didn't know what I was
But
doing.
she-
I
You
didn't
know,
understand. Yeah, that's true.
I
I
think
didn't
that
understand.
she
it always
was,
reminds
though.
me of the Broad City episode where it's like, he's like, I'm just a baby. I don't have any money. I'm a baby.
Well, I think that she knew what she was doing, and Nicholas's family is furious that she was allowed to do that to him, and
And she gets a lot of the sympathy, and he gets a lot of the blame.
right.
Right.
But
Exactly. Right.
he had a shady
Criminal
background
record.
And,
before that.
and
So that's what.
his
That's why he
parents,
got such a
his
sudden.
parents, obviously, well, it's his mother and his stepfather, but he
Mhm.
has obvious issues,
Mhm.
Yes.
and
Well,
yet
mhm.
they let him go out of state to meet this girl. And it's like,
Right.
how
Right.
do you think
Right.
it's going to happen?
Right.
Your kid
Well, I
obviously.
think so. I
And
think
then,
he was
for them to
diagnosed
say,
with.
okay, yeah, she can come move in with them.
Right, and I'm
Apparently
like,
they
Right,
didn't
right.
think that.
bring this girl home and live with us. Well, obviously, your child.
Right.
So,
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
And they probably was hoping for a different outcome for their son, because they thought, oh, well, she's, maybe she'll get him to behave or do things that he's supposed to. So, they probably had different theories on the relationship. And then when it turned out, then they wanted to blame her. And, I don't,
right.
Right.
it was a scapegoat for them once their son finally, once he did it. But he had that kind of aggression before he did that because he had a
Well,
record.
he was. Well, his only, I believe, it's not like he was.
He got in trouble
rest-
for exposing himself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like indecent exposure, which you can get by just
Don't
going to
say
the
it.
bathroom out in public.
Don't say
But-
it. It just drives me nuts when people say that.
Well, it's true. I've known people
it's
who've
not.
gotten that. It is. I've known people who got indecent exposure for peeing outside. So it is true. I don't think that's. I think again, he's clinically on the spectrum of autism. I think it's a very high case of autism, and also he has dissociative identity disorder. Which basically it's causes the brain to malfunction and create
Multiple-
identities. Yeah.
And they said that he does have that. His mother even was interviewed and said that he had multiple
Well, that's what I'm saying.
personalities.
You know this child. This is your child, and you know all the issues he has. You're gonna just let him go out of state and find this girl and bring her home, and you're gonna move in. And I mean, obviously that shouldn't be happening.
But it's
Well,
not
like
like
I
he's
said-
mentally incapable of taking care of himself. He's an adult. What
And
are you
like
going
I
to do?
said, she
He
was
was.
probably hoping
Yes, he
for
was.
the better part
He
of
wasn't.
that, maybe she would change his life. And yeah, she did, but for the worse, because she manipulated him, and she knew what she was. I think she knew what she was doing.
I
I
agree. I think she knew what
I
she was doing. I don't
honestly-
think it was malicious, but I think she knew what she was doing.
She was taking advantage of his.
She was with
his-
enough people her whole life because they catered to her. So she was around normal people, and
No,
she
she
seemed,
wasn't.
well, she's seen people come into her home, bring food and talk to her, and
Mhm.
whether she was coherent enough to be able to say anything, she could still see or hear what they were doing.
Well, not necessarily, because if you're
No,
drugged
people
up
may
and
keep
high,
her sheltered away
you're
from
out of it.
Right.
I agree. She was sheltered away from people and she didn't have a lot of human interaction, but it's not like he was the first guy she'd ever talked to, or even guys she talked to online. She talked to multiple, the Arkansas guy, and there was multiple others
Right.
before Nicholas. So it's not like this was out of the ordinary.
Right.
Again, she's only getting this kind of male attention and male information from online, which I'm sure in the early 2000s wasn't healthy or, conductive.
Right.
But,
Right.
she understood her actions, I think. I
Yes,
think that's the thing,
yeah,
is I think she understood the consequences of her actions.
Right. I think so too. But to live that kind of a life,
No, I agree. I agree. I don't think
feel really bad for her to be put through
Yeah.
that, to have a tube. And like she said in some of the interviews that she was interviewed with, that to live with that tube, she had to go get that replaced every so often. And she wasn't under any kind of medicine. They just take it out and put a new one in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She to
Welcome
replace
to American medicine.
Well, and especially if they're being told she's a child, you can only use so much medicine on young children,
Right.
So
that.
I'm sure they were afraid to use any kind of high anesthesia on a child.
Right. And the pain that she
It's
went
Exposure
okay.
a child.
I'm sure they told her she'll feel just a little bit of pressure, maybe a
Right.
pinch. It'll be okay.
As women, we all know we're not allowed certain anesthesias when we get procedures done that are extremely painful, where we get hole punched. But,
Yeah. You'll feel a pinch and a lot of pressure.
Yep, just a
You'll
little
be
bit.
uncomfortable for the rest of the
don't
day.
worry.
But you'll be okay.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Yep, I know.
It's definitely. I remember when this, all kind of came out into the news and everything, and it's shocking to see something like that. But there is, I mean, I agree. I think she kind of knew what was going on, understood the process of hey, I'm going to kill my mom. But I also agree too that one, she was desperate to get out and probably only saw that as a way of out of her situation.
Right. Yeah. I do
But
believe that.
There's also the sympathy factor of, she lived her entire life like this and was just trying to have a normal life because she realized she didn't have anything wrong with her.
Right.
Well, like you said, Jess, the last time she had run away, her mother came and found her. So I'm sure she thought, I'm never going to escape if my mother is alive.
Right.
Exactly. Right.
And the only way to be able to do something or have a boyfriend or have friends, grow hair, do all the things that she really wanted to do was to eliminate her mother out of her life. And so I understand that.
And it's not like she could have went and emancipated herself because
nobody
her medical
believed her.
records. Right.
Well,
on
her
her
mother
medical
is her
records.
Right.
Her guardian.
And she wasn't fit, mentally fit enough to understand on the medical records.
And to think that, if she went to the police herself and told them that this was all a lie, think of what Dee Dee might have done to her for a punishment. Right. She said that she beat her with a hanger if she said one wrong thing, or bruised her arms, or pinched her, squeezed her too tight. Right. So, she knew that what kind of abuse she would get if she didn't play along with whatever Dee Dee wanted her to do. So it's
right.
It's I don't know. It's a sad thing. It's crazy. It's crazy. So that's all I got to say.
That's all I got to say.
That's all I got to say about that.
Okay. How about you girls? Got anything else to say?
Mm-mm.
Nope, I don't think so. This was
Okay.
a interesting story. I think we all knew about it, so that I think it's a pretty good one.
Mhm.
Thank you, Cass.
Okay, guys, let's wrap this up then. Hope everybody has a good week. Again, thank you everybody for watching, and let us know what you think, how we're doing, and find us on your local podcast, wherever you get those. Okay? All right, guys. Have a good week. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.